Five, four, three, two, one. Welcome back to the Fever Pitch Podcast. I'm your co-host Brian.
Not Dan, how you doing?
Doing great, doing great. A lot has been going on in the sports world, but first, let's talk about UNC does not have that dog in them. UNC is stunned by Alabama. What is happening here?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but when I was growing up, first of all, Florida, UNC, Kansas, Kentucky were all just that was it, and Ohio State for a brief period. Those were like the premier schools. Times have changed. Like I don't know what's going on in the SEC, but all of a sudden they got Hoopers, and Alabama's out here beating one of the best historical, historically one of the best basketball programs for college. So yeah, like I said, what's this? The young man Brent Nelson with like Brent Berry out there, and he shut it down and secured the W for the tie. It was a really good showing by Alabama, and I could definitely see that UNC they don't have much depth, but they probably were just gassed out. I feel like in the South it's a little more they put the long game a little bit more. But ACC basketball is a little more fast paced, so it's like you don't really get that second window often. So Alabama just had the more endurance and they were able to close it out and get the W.
So you mentioned something about depth. Do you think that the ACC and some of these like big powerhouses that we've seen of the past, they're losing that allure like you were talking about? Now it's time for the Alabamas of the world, the Oakland universities, the I don't know, what's another one? I feel like
Uh,
Michigan's pretty big now too.
yeah, Michigan is they're kind of in the middle in my opinion. They're not bad. They're not. I think because when Jordan Poole and telling you, Jordan Poole and Mo Wagner were there, they were like kind of at the tip of the kind of at the cream of the crop. They kind of died down in the lower, in my opinion, but it's still a very good program. Juwan Howard was coaching at Michigan for a long period of time, and he kind of instilled a culture that had a lot of success. Sometimes they came up short in the tournament, but in general during the regular season, they were always amongst the crop. The most interesting to me will be Marquette. Dwayne Wade went to Marquette,
Mm,
and it hasn't been Jimmy Butler also went to Marquette.
Jimmy
Those are the
Buckets.
only two players I can remember who had like a lot of notoriety coming out of that school. But somehow I feel like they're kind of they're inching back into relevancy. So yeah, the days of like your typical UNC Florida Dukes is kind of past, and we're seeing that new talent is emerging in the college basketball space.
Yeah, especially I think a big thing to highlight alongside teams like Marquette, now that I actually think about it, is the other teams in like the research triangle of North Carolina. NC State, I don't know what's been going on, but both their men's and women's programs have been going absolutely crazy. And Duke has always been a powerhouse, and they're back here as well. One thing this makes me think of is this kind of the start of UNC kind of becoming the lesser of those three? Typically, it's been UNC and Duke duking it out for one, and NC State at the bottom. But NC State has shown that they are competitive and can play.
Right. Uh, it's it's an interesting time, with all these one and dones. The talent crop is being rotated at a higher clip because less kids are staying in school, and most of them are going pro after a year or transferring. So that continuity at these big programs kind of you go to UNC for the name almost. It's like if you're a bucket and you go to USC, you're automatically like going to be talked about. So like, and most of these rotations are 8 or 9 deep. So after if you're the 11th man on UNC, you're probably not that great, even though you would think that like in comparison, like the 11th man on UNC and like the six men on Alabama are probably equal.
Yeah,
And because of that, there's like a level of the depth isn't really as deep as people think. It's just bodies.
yeah. I definitely see what you're seeing. And it makes me think of the larger conversation of young basketball players have too many options and routes to get to the NBA now.
Right.
You can either go, before it was discontinued, the G League type of program. You can go overseas and just start playing professional ball immediately.
Yep.
You can go to college, but now they got to incentivize you with some sweet NIL deals and kickers in order to even get you there.
Yep.
So you got these kind of three primary routes, and then I'm trying to think, is there another route? But those are the three that come to my head immediately. What do you think this is going to do to the overall NCAA landscape? Because when I look at it, I think that the NCAA is going to get less and less of the cream of the crop over the next 20 years or 40
Yeah.
years. And more players are going to opt to go be like, okay, I want to be like Luca. I want to go be like the alien. I'm going to go to France. I'm going to go to Lithuania. I'm going to be like LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball didn't go to college and he got $250 million for 5 years. So why would I?
Everyone's situation is different. Everyone's supporting system is different. Because yeah, obviously the likes of Lamelo, Luca, Emmanuel Mudiay, they didn't go to college. But at the same time, you don't like with everything you don't do, you have to do more of something else. So that's agent fees, sleep schedule. You're probably not gonna be able to have that camaraderie because you're playing with grown men. That's like these people got mortgages. They usually came out of high school. Right, that's gonna be a shell shock. You might get shell shocked for that. So the different aspects and different things you have to wrestle with when you're making those decisions. Personally, I feel as though Gilbert Arenas. I was listening to Gilbert Arenas the other day, and he was saying how his son. I think his son is approaching that age of like about to leave high school, trying to further his basketball career. He was talking about how ideally, I don't really think he should go to college because he's going to play professional basketball. So sitting in the philosophy class for 90 minutes when you can use those 90 minutes to work on your left hand or work on your defensive stance, sitting in chemistry, no offense, for 2 hours when you gotta work on your jump shot and work on your defense. It's like so he was saying I don't want to butcher what he was saying because it's a very profound argument he was making, but it was like, yeah, as a father who has a plan for my child, I don't think you need to be in college. And I will train you and we will get you where you need to go, whether that's the G League or overseas or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it all depends on your supporting system and what people plan to do and things of that nature.
No, definitely well said. And shout out Agent Zero. Definitely one of the coldest to ever do it. Um, and he brings up a great point with all those options. Why go to college where people have to essentially, if your goal isn't ultimately to get a degree, you know you're going for 1 year, if that, maybe two if you need some extra development. Why put yourself in that situation where you know you're going to be doing something you don't want to do? But at the same time, just me being a bit of a contrarian, I feel like kids still want that college experience, even if it's just for a short period of time, you know?
Right.
Uh, even just the feeling of going to class, the college culture, being a part of a larger community before you go be in the NBA for 20 or so years. It's like, because even Gilbert Arenas can attest to the fact that after he left the NBA, he felt lost. You essentially lost your community and agency. Why not build up some bonds with people while you're in college and have other people outside of that basketball network so that you can have another direction as well?
Well said. Well said. Just looking at a few individuals who forgoed college. Some of the names that jump out to me: Brandon Jennings, Emmanuel Mudiay, Leangelo Ball,
Shout
RJ
out Leangelo.
Hampton.
He's in Mexico right now, I think, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how much he's making, but he comes from a family of millionaires, so I'm sure he's being directed in a similar fashion.
Absolutely. He's stacking those
Yeah,
pesos.
yeah. So there it is. It's like there's all see. It's, I think naturally the way traveled by many may not be the way for you, and we're seeing that many people just go 1 to 2 years in college, they quit for the drive. That's the way traveled by a lot of people. But it's like going well with the G League Ignite is not here anymore, but that pathway, and then the overseas pathway. And the NBA is realizing this because the whole purpose of the G League Ignite was like a prep year for incoming prospects. So there's always some level of I see what's going on and I want to get to it, especially now because like going back to Kyrie, I think Kyrie played like 12 games at Duke and then entered the draft. And I don't think he was probably making money due to future endorsements, but NIL wasn't really what it is now when Kyrie was in school. So imagine, and I think he got hurt in at Duke. So you always want to just do what's best for you in your future. And instead of learning about anatomy, I can go learn about like tax write-offs and whatnot while I go prepare to be an adult.
Absolutely. Well said. But what I do want to point your attention to is so far it's looking like I'm gonna be right. We've already seen one number one seed get knocked down, and 3 out of 4 of the favorites were knocked down in these games. We had 3 upsets.
Yeah.
The only team who was able to rise from it was UConn.
Yep.
And let's be real, UConn trailed for the first time ever this tournament. Granted, it was 2-0, but
Yeah.
and they did blow the team out by 30 points. But I'm telling you, none of these one seeds are winning anything this conference, this tournament. I'm
yeah.
letting you know, man.
Yeah. Purdue and Houston today. And yeah. So still got 3 1 seeds. You know, that's just
I'm calling it right now. Watch Gonzaga take Purdue, watch NC State take Marquette, and watch Duke take Houston. And then the only one who will be left is UConn. And then who does UConn play next? Or is that to be determined?
UConn will play Illinois on Saturday.
Okay, they'll get them out of the way. And then after that, who are their potential options?
Alabama and Clemson play on Saturday as well. So the winner of that will be in the Final Four.
I see UConn getting to the Final Four, but I don't see UConn beating the likes of anybody else who gets there.
Cheers. Cheers.
I mean, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
I like UConn, and I think that program is built to last. And we saw that they just won last year, and a lot of the pieces that contributed to their success last year remain. The culture is still there, and that's the primary thing. Looking at the field, I like I like Purdue and Zach Edey, but they've been doing this for a while now. They looked very good, and then they just don't get to where they need to get to. Purdue is the new UVA. It's like they're gonna be as good as you think they're gonna be until it's time to be that good.
Mm.
So they're the new UVA in my eyes, and Gonzaga, they're just always gonna be around. That Purdue Gonzaga game, I'm gonna keep. I might watch that one because that one just seems like League 1, because they're very similar. Their programs are very similar in my opinion. As far as Houston and Duke, Texas basketball is just really underrated overall. Like there's something in the water in Texas where they really just get to it, real physical. So it's gonna be interesting. I feel like Duke will take. I mean, I think Houston would take down Duke. Purdue's gonna be Gonzaga. Marquette's gonna be NC State. And Honestly, Creighton might take Tennessee. From there, I think the Warriors are going to be open, but all in all, I think UConn is going to come out on top.
Mm. So you like your favorites type of guy.
Not always, but sometimes.
But in this case,
Yes.
we'll see. We'll see who's correct here. But let's talk about what's been going on with some of these college players getting ready for the NFL draft. Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors had their pro day, and dare I say, Malik Neighbors is the next Jamar Chase. Based off of his pro day splits, they were nearly identical to Jamar Chase. And on top of coming from LSU and also playing with a Heisman quarterback, I think Neighbors is going to be the next top 10 receiver to come out of the NFL draft. And let me tell you
I
why.
mean, yeah, it's hard for me to disagree with that. Personally, I like to kind of let prospects be prospects. I feel we always like to compare. He's the next. He's the next. We haven't seen somebody like this since, and it kind of puts that added pressure on these 20-year-olds. So I try not to do that too much. I just try to let them be them. But
Hey,
yeah, you
listen,
went to
pressure
so
builds diamonds, though.
that's true. That's true. But you know, but he went to LSU. He was a great. They won the vote in the call. He either won it or he was one vote for winning it, and he's going to be probably a top 12 draft pick, maybe even top 10, maybe even top 5. So the Jamar Chase track is very similar as of right now, and I think he's going to have a lot of success. The only difference is, unlike Jamar Chase, he's not going to be able to play with Jaden Daniels unless we see something unforeseen happen in these trade in the draft order. So I think he's gonna have a very good career though. But are we gonna immediately see a 1,500-yard season or anything of the matter? Only time will tell. He's also very small at 199 pounds.
I think he'll be able to rise above that because LSU is a wide receiver factory.
It is.
And I want us to rank some of these wide receiver duos, right? The notable wide receiver duos that we've seen at LSU, you got Odell and Jarvis Landry, both for periods of their career were respectfully wide receiver ones. Jamar
Yeah.
Chase and Justin Jefferson, the wide receivers of now, the wide receiver ones of now,
Yep.
and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver ones of the future.
Yeah.
Rank them based off of how you think ultimately they will. Who is the best duo in your opinion?
Oh,
Rank.
it was Javon JJ. I saw that when I was 2 eyes in college. I I almost went to LSU. I keep telling y'all I got in and I almost went. And oh boy. Like when Jamar Chase said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna," he took a season off. I was like, "Yeah, he's still gonna go top 5." And if he didn't go, he went top 5, right? I'm pretty sure he was top 5 pick.
I believe so.
So yeah, I saw the likes of JJ and Jamar in real time, and they are ultra talented. So for maybe that's bias, it's a recency bias, but yeah, they're my one. Followed by I'll take Odell and Jarvis. No. I'll take Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors at 2, and then I'll put the Odell and Jarvis at 3.
Why Odell and Jarvis at 3?
I feel like their profiles as wide receivers are kind of limited. They're both smaller in stature. They're uber talented, great hands, but I just feel like the type of wide receiver I would like to be is like very physical, and therefore they both finesse. But Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Justin Jefferson, Jamar all kind of have that physicality aspect that I would want in the receiver. Honestly, I feel like Justin Jefferson might be a little bit more on the finesse side too, but I think I've seen him be a little more physical than the two others.
So why do you put Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson over Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr.?
Based strictly on the fact that I've already the transition from school to league. I mean, yeah, from school to league, it was seamless. It was instant almost. And obviously that can happen with the neighbors and Brian Thomas, and it probably will, but I've already seen it. It's like I know he can dunk. I think you can. So if I gotta bet on somebody to dunk, I'm gonna bet on the person I've already seen dunk. So that's really it.
I respect that. I respect that. But all of these guys are around the same size.
They play different. Like some,
Hmm.
yeah. It's like some, like for example, like I think Terry McCoy is 6 feet tall, like 6 feet flat. He plays like he's 6'5".
Hmm.
Like he's getting up there, contesting with receivers at a very small stature. Not all 6 foot receivers are doing that. Another example, um, who else is like another example of like playing bigger than what they are? Antonio Brown, 5'10", 5'8". He plays like he's 6'2". So just having that ability to play bigger than what you actually are, I feel like that factors into it for me.
So, and in that same accord, this is how I'm gonna rank it.
Sure.
I'm gonna go Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. number one
Okay.
because I did not realize that Brian Thomas Jr. was 6'4". Then I'm gonna go Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson because those are the wide receiver ones of today. And then I'm gonna go Odell and Jarvis Landry just because I think it might be more recency bias here because they're not washed by any regards, but
They
they're
are.
not
They
at their
are.
prime.
They're washed. They're washed.
They're washed.
They're washed.
Jarvis Landry's washed?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. He's like 33. He's washed.
All right.
You see
But
the way he's just like quietly, just like he's not out the league, but he quietly is just like not in the league anymore. He's 31. I bet. They're born the day before me. Nice. Um, you see how he's like just quietly not in the league anymore?
yeah.
He's washed because he
All right.
obviously the talent is there because his last full season he no, I take that back because he played 12 games and had under 600 yards. Obviously, when the opportunity reduces, production reduces, but you know, the NFL stands for not for long. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years after years, yeah, after 7, 8 years, so all right, you're starting to tail off a bit. And then the injury doesn't help you. I think he got hurt 2 seasons ago, had a really bad ankle injury. So
Mhm.
I mean he was on the 1 year deal. So it's like, yeah, not good riddance, but thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Okay. But out of all these wide receivers, I think Brian Thomas Jr. will have the best career in the NFL out of all six.
Sounds like a safe bet.
Oh, you agree?
Oh no, I like neighbors, but I think JJ's on the I feel like the you have to take into account that Justin Jefferson is extremely talented already, and the masses, the powers that be already kind of have him crowned as the end all be all for wide receivers for fair reason. So
Mhm.
as a result, it's kind of hard for me to think somebody else is going to roll out of bed and usurp him because during that 2020 span, there's a gap in the market. DeAndre Hopkins was tailing off. Tyreek Hill was playing with Patrick Mahomes, so everyone gave Mahomes some credit, and not Tyreek Hill. Antonio Brown crashed out, and then Justin Jefferson kind of hit immediately. So now it's like there's kind of that level of security. And then with Jamar Chase, he played for the Bengals, a terrible franchise, and he had instant success. So it's like those two kind of naturally were able to get propelled into elite status very fast. And they both broke records in different capacities. So when considering all those factors, is like you're kind of solidified for a good amount of time until someone else does it. And when you hear stats like this is the first time since Randy Moss, and you have to think about Randy Moss, it's like, oh, that was like 15 years ago. This is the first time since Jerry Rice. This is 25, 30 years ago. This is the first time. And like when you start to hear these crazy stats and then you see the name attached to it, it's like, yeah, this is we're here. And until we see someone else get there, we just gotta worry about here. It's like a benchmark.
Mm. No, that's definitely fair to say. But when I look at Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase was the smaller receiver, but was getting a lot of the attention. I'm seeing the same thing with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., right? And I think Malik Neighbors out the gate will be better. But I think Brian Thomas Jr., with enough time, give him a couple of seasons, he's going to have a more exponential growth curve. Because don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase is a great football player, but we saw this year when his QB was hurt, he just wasn't getting the touches that he's used to receiving. And even when Joe Burrow was here earlier in the season, you got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and with him just getting sacked all the time, what Jamar Chase had that 7-11 chain. He was like, I'm always open, something like that.
Yep.
So it's not, I don't think it's because of a lack of talent of Jamar Chase, but like you're saying, because of franchise. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to go to a better franchise because he's rated lower. The same way that, in my opinion, the Vikings are a better franchise than the Bengals.
It's debatable. They had a better year that year, but it's debatable.
Yeah. Don't worry, I like to debate.
But yeah, like just to dive deeper, as a rookie, Jamar Chase broke the franchise record for receiving yards in the game, broke the franchise record for receiving yards in the season, and this past season he broke the franchise record for receptions in the game. He broke the NFL record for most rookie receiving yards, postseason included, in the season. Youngest player with multiple 100-yard receiving games in the postseason. The most receiving yards by a rookie and the most receiving yards in the postseason by a rookie. These are all NFL records. So obviously you can't get into the postseason without your team having success. And when you are a key contributor to the success of your team, you're naturally going to be propelled in high regard. And from the looks of it, it looks like Malik Neighbors is going to be in the playing for the Chargers potentially. So maybe he can have a similar outcome. And Brian Thomas is looking like he'll be in the realm of the Jags at 17, according to Tankathon's mock. So he can also be in the similar outcome. I feel like that would be a really good spot for him. Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas. That would be a good little duo, a good little pairing there, especially with Christian Kirk getting up there in age. That receiver room is very questionable right now. So I can see that happening. And we might see a similar outcome based off that.
Well said. You brought up some QBs, and I think the best QB out of this draft is going to be Jaden Daniels. And his pro day just showed his ability. And even his coach is saying he's going to get the ball out to his playmakers and make plays for whatever team he's on. But we're saying speculating Washington in this realm. I hope Washington goes with Jaden Daniels over what's his name? UNC.
Drake May.
Over Drake May. Because I was watching a YouTube video and I was kind of looking at Drake May's like breakdown. And Drake May has like a strong arm, but he never sets his feet when he throws.
Yes, it's very much all platform. I've seen that as well.
And that's cool in college and in the ACC, like a non-football division, you know.
Not now for the states in the ACC. Clemson's
Oh,
in the ACC.
okay, and Florida State went 18-0, and they still said, you guys just weren't compy enough to be in the Final Four.
All right, but what about Clemson?
And Clemson has fallen off
Oh boy.
since yeah, Trevor Lawrence left. They've fallen off. I don't think they've been there since.
Oh boy. Oh, we got some breaking news.
I'll talk to
Uh, Has- oh my goodness, Hassan Reddick is being traded to the Jets for a second for a conditional third round pick.
who's Hassan Reddick. I'm not
He's
familiar.
a pass rusher that played for Philly.
Oh,
I like that deal. The Jets get some added pass rush. I think he's has a few more years on his current deal, so they don't need to worry about pay. They don't need to worry about paying him for a good amount of time. Oh wait, no. Oh, that's a proposal. So yeah, they don't need to worry about paying him for a good amount of time. It's looking like the Eagles are definitely tearing it down. And this is just another part of that. Like I said, AJ Brown is not gonna be an Eagle next year.
hmm.
I'm already seeing it, and this is just another step in just
Comes to
tearing
the
down.
Ravens. AJ Brown comes to the Ravens.
Y'all don't pay people, and he's paid. So, but yeah, like I said, it's a conditional third round pick in 2026. So yeah, they just gave him away.
Mm. I think the Jets are very focused on stacking their defense when the main issue is protecting the QB. I think that's the biggest concern they've had. They have a great wide receiver core. They just haven't been able to put together a cohesive offensive line that will make sure the QB doesn't get dissembled.
Yeah, I mean, Brees Hall towards ACL, Aaron Rodgers towards Achilles. I mean that Brees Hall injury wasn't really contingent on the O line, but the reality is there seems to be some type. Maybe it's the turf. It might not even be the team. I think it's just that turf.
Mm. I've heard that a lot of players have been advocating for switching to all grass fields instead of turf.
Yeah, I mean I feel like if it's safer, you should do it. Same thing with the tackle. Whatever is safer should be done.
Absolutely. But what do you think about Jaden Daniels and what his coach said?
I think he's talented. Obviously, he won the Heisman. He showed the ability to perform at two schools, and he played he went from Arizona State, which is already a pretty decent football school, had success, and from there he went to LSU. He transferred to LSU, so he had more what's the tougher competition and greater success.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, as he progresses, he's showing promise. He takes a lot of hits. There, yeah, what is he, 20, 22? This is the 30-year-olds in the NFL. A 30-year-old hit you, he's 23. A 30-year-old hits you, you might not, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to adjust and play in a way that prolongs your career and not shortens it. And the way he was playing in college, if he just brings that to the NFL, he might not play football for that long.
That's a fair assessment. I ain't even mad at that. So potentially injury prone. I can see that.
Yeah, he needs to put some weight on.
Mm. Speaking of people who are coming off an injury and who might potentially have to retire, J.K. Dobbins, if uninjured, I think is a top three wide receiver, a top three running back of all time. But since he's like a glass cannon,
Hmm.
and the Ravens have gotten Derrick Henry, it's rumored that he's been visiting with the Chargers. What are your thoughts on that?
No comment. He tore his ACL and his Achilles. So I think he should be covering the Big Ten for Fox. I don't think he should be playing football anymore. I think he should just talk about it. But if you're in good health and you want to continue playing, I wish you well and I hope you stay in good health. But me personally, I tear my ACL and my Achilles. I'm cool.
And then what are your
So
thoughts of like all these former Ravens going straight to the Chargers?
Yes, like diet nepotism or it's transitive nepotism. You play for my brother. My brother knows me very well, so I'm gonna do what my brother does. Get Hayden Hurst, get Gus Edwards, get he got somebody else, I think. And bring J.K. Dobbins is open to visiting. It's like, yeah, it's the Diet Ravens, and the Diet Ravens aren't really gonna pan out, in my opinion. I don't
They,
really want to speak. I
they
don't
got
want to
Greg
speak for
Roman
any
too.
franchise. Oh yeah, Greg. Oh yeah, Greg Roman. So yeah, it's a scheme fit. Yeah, I don't want to speak on that franchise. I think they just it's a scheme fit. Yeah, like, I don't really. It is what it is. Good luck. Like I said, I'm giving them a year. This year doesn't count in my eyes. Then that's it. That's all I want to say. I will start talking about the Chargers in 2025.
Okay, let's talk about free agency. Free agency has been dynamic. A lot of moves have been happening. A lot has been going on. But let's keep talking about former Ravens. Jadeveon Clowney to the Panthers, 20 million guaranteed up to 24 million. What do you think about this?
He knows how to get paid. He had a good year, but like he's 31, so he's getting up there and like he's his. I don't know if he's still in his prime or not, but he can still play very well. He since his time in Seattle, which is in 2019, I think that was his apex. But even though he's not at his apex anymore, he's definitely showing the ability to still play football at a very, very good level. He had a resurgence with a career high 9.5 sacks. He tied his career high. He had 19 assisted tackles most in his career, and he played 17 games, so he stayed healthy. And he also forced two fumbles. So yeah, he could definitely still play at a high level. Derek Brown, Derek Brown, Jadeveon Clowney, they got another well, they just traded Brian Burns. So yeah, you get similar production after trading Brian Burns, you bring in Jadeveon Clowney. I like the move. It's cheaper and the production will be very similar.
But this always makes me think. It's like, why would you go from the Ravens to the Panthers? Money, yes, but it's like, do you want to win anything in your career? Like ever?
You always had this conversation, 100 mil or 50 mil in a ring. Some people, listen, them rings, the value of a ring to some people is not worth turning down an extra 35, $40 million.
Hmm.
And me personally, I like the title of champion, but I also like the title of filthy rich. So either way, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's because look, you can be a champion and you weren't that good, or you can be up and be able to show that you're up.
Hmm.
Like you could be a Joel Anthony, no disrespect, or who's really, or a T Mac. So yeah, it's all about how you want to carry it.
And when I look at this, it seems like Jadeveon Clowney, he's kind of going on like the Calais, taking the Calais Campbell route. Highest bidder. He knows he's a solid player, and I think he knows he's going to be around for at least a few more years. So let me stack this bread, get as much money I can while I can right now, and after that, I'll call it a career, and I'll know I've had impact on the game. But I just know that Jadeveon Clowney, if he stayed with the Ravens and took the lesser deal, the Ravens would have been better for it. Yes, his pockets wouldn't have been as better, and we probably weren't trying to pay him crazy. We probably offered him like 4 or like 5. So it's
Yeah,
like when you're being offered double the money, it makes sense for you to make the decision that makes more financial sense for you. I get it and I respect it. And all love to Jadeveon Clowney. I like seeing you play for the Ravens. And as a Ravens fan, I would have liked to see you keep playing for the Ravens. But it just hurts me to see us keep losing these pieces that were making great impacts, doing great things on the field. 9.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Those, by any mark, those aren't regular numbers.
yeah,
Those are
that's like,
good numbers. Those are
yeah,
solid.
yeah,
You're having good impact. And especially a number one overall player in your 30s to still be doing that is crazy.
yeah.
So,
He's from South Carolina. He went to school there. He's from there. He was born there. So yeah, maybe it's like a hometown deal. according to this article, it says, yeah, the Rock Hill native went to South Point High School and became a college football phenom at South Carolina. When speaking to Josina Anderson, once the move became public knowledge, the formidable presence revealed that home comforts played a significant role in his decision. Apparently, the Jets were also in the market for him, so he chose the Panthers instead. On X, he stated, "We're going to be just 30 minutes from home. It's where we do all our community and foundation work going into season 11. Plus, my granddaddy is getting older, and last year we had a lot of losses in our family. So honestly, it just feels like a full circle moment being closer."
Okay, I know all that. That makes sense. It's about family and being closer to home. It's less about rings and stuff and money. So more money, being close to home, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It looks like he's probably nearing his last few deals. He's trying to call it quits soon, probably after this contract. What this is 2 years, maybe one
Right.
more deal, maybe get an extension, and then he's out of here. But
Yeah.
respect, he good career for Jadeveon Clowney, #1 overall pick. He did what he had to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Salute.
So another player was has made a deal during this free agency. Josh Reynolds going from the Lions to the Broncos. What do
So
you think
now
about
I think this is the opposite. I think he was looking for a payday
that? Mm.
because why would you leave Detroit? I mean, he's not from Colorado. He didn't go. He went to school in Texas, and he's from Texas. So there's no, unless there's something I don't know. There's no hometown nepotism aspect there. I don't know if he has any familiarity with Sean Payton, and also, uh, yes, 2 year deal. So yeah, I'm sure he was just following the money. And I don't blame him. I think the Ravens were looking to bring him in at one point, but he ended up signing with Denver. So yeah, more money.
More money, hey. Stack your pockets. Do what you got to do.
Indeed.
Never against the player looking out for their best interest because the league will look out for theirs.
That part.
Mm. We just passed a historic day, March 28th.
Oh yeah, 328. Why is that? Oh yeah, before we get there, but yeah, this 2 year deal with Denver will be the most money he's made on a contract in his career. So
I wasn't able to find like a value on it. Are you seeing anything?
I think it said 14. I hope I'm not making that up. The Broncos, yeah, at worth as much as 14 million.
Okay, so he's trying to get paid.
Yeah.
Respect. All right, but 328 day, March 28th.
The Lions also made a below market. Oh yeah, and the Lions trying to low blow him. But yeah, 328. I remember this Super Bowl so well because I thought I was gonna lose money.
Me too.
I remember I was talking to the homies, I was like, oh, we gotta win. And I was like, all right, I got New England. And I was like, all right, cool. And I looked at the score and then I looked at my wallet and I was like, oof, I'm gonna owe other people money today or tomorrow going into school. I kept watching though, surprisingly. And boy, oh boy, I haven't seen a walk down like that since ever. And yeah, the glorious day 328 just passed. For those of you who don't know, the Falcons were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, they were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl and allowed 31 unanswered points and ended up losing in like a quarter and a half. So, well, overtime. So yeah, a quarter and a half. Probably, I think this is Super Bowl 51,
It was before that.
52, 51. Super Bowl 51. Yeah, Super Bowl 51 in
Oh,
Houston, Texas. This is the largest comeback in Super Bowl history, and it's really viewed as one of the greatest football games ever. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. No one scored in the first quarter. It was 21-3 at halftime. And then by the end of the third, it was 28-9. And then they didn't score again after the third quarter. They being the Falcons.
And I think this was one of the Super Bowls that cemented Tom Brady's legacy. Because I think a few seasons prior, he said he wasn't going for Montana, he was going for Jordan,
Yep.
something like that. And it's
Yep.
like, oh, truly, in when there's just a small opening, still don't bet against Tom Brady. That's why I would never, like, after, even before that, I was like, bet against Tom Brady unless you have his kryptonite, Eli Manning, you know, then I'm not betting against Tom Brady. If Tom Brady gets to the Super Bowl and he's not playing Eli Manning, bet on Tom Brady. It's very simple to me.
I have a counterpoint.
Oh, talk to me.
It was 21-3 at halftime, right?
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick at the defense only allowed 7 points after halftime. So I'm just saying, and mind you, Tom Brady threw a pick six in that Super Bowl. So you gave them an extra 7 that they wouldn't have gotten if you made the right read. So I'm just saying, I feel like yes, the Patriots came back and won, but I feel like Bill Belichick might need a little more credit for this one, in my opinion.
Listen, pressure builds diamonds, and if the ball wasn't leaving Tom Brady's hand, let's say they had Zach Wilson out there, they would have lost.
Zach Wilson can throw a pick six. It's not hard though. Pick
Zach
six.
Wilson can't score 31 unanswered points. I'll tell you that. Against
Well,
that defense, that Atlanta defense was legendary.
okay, so it was a 5-yard check down, a field goal, a 6-yard check down, and 2 rushing touchdowns by James White. Zach Wilson
you know what you're
can do
doing. You
that.
know what you're doing. You know what you're
Zach Wilson
doing.
can do that. Zach Wilson can do that.
You know what you're doing. Oh, you're trying
I'm
to get down
highlighting
to,
the fact that if it wasn't for Bill and the defense, this would not be a W for the Patriots.
oh, now I gotta pull this. Now I gotta pull the stats. Now I gotta pull the stats.
I'm looking at him. A 5-yard check down, a field goal, a 6-yard check down, and a James White rushing touchdown.
Tom Brady threw for 466 yards.
Okay. How many of them? How many of those yards came when they were down?
Oh, so now I gotta do a deeper dive. That's what you're making me do.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I'm just highlighting the fact he threw a pick six, and his run game had 104 yards and 2 touchdowns.
His run game had 104 yards,
And 2 touchdowns, yes.
but he had to get them close to the end zone.
Because he's thrown for 505 yards against the Eagles, and he lost that Super Bowl. So I'm saying his production didn't really change, and we've seen him lose and win Super Bowls doing the same thing.
Listen,
We've also seen him win Super Bowls without. I think he won the Super Bowl without throwing a touchdown pass. The 13-3 against the Rams. So I'm saying he's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. I'm not denying that. I'm highlighting the fact that at times he does what he usually does, and the outcome doesn't really get affected by him when they're lost. Now, if Bill didn't lock in the second half and pitch a shutout for 2 quarters, I mean, hey, we
the
think of
only
it.
the
Think of
only
it. Look, go ahead.
the only reason I'm going to disagree with you, and let me tell you the stats on what was happening in terms of downs. The Patriots had 37 first downs to the Falcons 17 first downs. 26 of the Patriots first downs were passing first downs versus 7 rushing first downs. And they were also 7 for 14 on third down versus the Falcons 1 for 8. So,
Okay. So
to me, what that says is, yes, it's a combination of both. But what I see is Tom Brady, when you needed him, was getting the first downs, passing the ball, and marching the ball down the field. We both watched this game. What are we talking about? Tom Brady marched the ball down the field.
I'm going to counter.
Tom Brady marched. He marched it down the field. 26 first downs,
I'm
and
going to
you
counter.
were scoreless in the the first two quarters, except for a field goal, and you know that Tom Brady is that guy. Is Tom Brady not your NFL GOAT? That was a yes or no question.
I'm a Joe Montana guy. Always has,
You're
always has.
Joe Montana over Tom Brady?
Personally, but yes, the data, the facts, you can't argue with the facts. Obviously, Brady is the number one. But yes, I'm a Joe Montana guy personally. My point is, coming out of halftime, the Falcons were up 18, 3 and out. Patriots punted. The Falcons scored again. So it was 28-3. And then the Patriots scored, missed the extra point, 28-9. And then 3 and out, turnover, punt, punt. That is play calling by your defense. Bill got Tom Brady the ball back. And when Tom Brady got the ball back with favorable field position, he was able to produce. When the Falcons got that turnover, Tom Brady had the ball at the Falcons 30. You can't score in 30 yards. I would hope you can score in 30 yards. And then after that, he forced a punt. Tom Brady, okay, he read a good drive from the 9. Okay. Incompletion. Oh no, 16 yards, check down. Incompletion, 11-yard check down. And then a penalty. No. And then Julian Edelman made that amazing catch. So I'm just highlighting that the success is not solely on Tom Brady. And if a lot of things didn't go his way, if it was just on him, they would have lost.
The thing is, it's not, of course, it can't solely be on him. It takes a team. And the defense played well. The defense needed to play well to even give the offense the opportunity to perform. But because the defense played well, when the opportunity was presented, Tom Brady did what he needed to do. I hate to use this example, but look at the Ravens this past season versus the Chiefs. The defense did not play horrible. The defense was shutting out Kansas City for the most part, third quarter. But when given the opportunity and the ball went to Zay Flowers, what happened? The ball gets punched out. You get a 15-yard penalty for standing over a player and things of that nature. Those are opportunistic things and things that Tom Brady worked out with his offense prior so that they would never happen. Julian Edelman has literally even said on interview that he would go wherever Tom Brady went so that that if he ever called him up to throw the ball and catch it, that's what he would do. That's the type of loyalty that Tom Brady's offense had to him. We literally saw Gronk come out of retirement just to play with Tom Brady. This is the type of guy that Tom Brady is. He's that type of offensive leader, that type of quarterback, and that's why he's the greatest of all time. We saw the same thing with Michael Jordan and what he would do with his teammates. Wait.
Do we just erase the Wizards Michael Jordan from like history? That happened.
Well, we don't count that.
No, why? Tell me why.
Because that was his actual last dance. And the reason why we cut it off at the Bulls is because he was being delusional. He thought he should come back when he should have just stayed retired.
Okay. So I don't even know how we got here, but it's cool.
I mean,
I'm gonna give you an amazing example as soon as I can think of one. You watch movies?
Yes.
Okay. The Fast and Furious movies, right?
The series.
1 through 5. I'll give you 6 if you like 6. Amazing. 7 through, I don't even know what number they're on right now.
I haven't watched in like the last 3 or 4.
And that's the Wizards Michael Jordan. But guess what? You still have to include that in the assessment of how good something is. So in that same token, Bulls Mike was Fast and Furious 1 through 5.
Okay.
Retirement, this, that, all the stuff we want to talk about, getting bounced out in the first round, being 1-9 without Scottie Pippen. Nobody really talks about that. And then on top of that, Wizards Mike, and now we're driving cars through space. I say that to say, outside of that one glorious COVID year when the Bucks were just everything went right, Tom Brady's Buccaneers stance wasn't that great. He got
What
bounced
are
out
you
twice.
talking about?
He got bounced out twice.
He literally won. He literally went to a different team and won a Super Bowl.
That team was well put together and placed.
They had they didn't win a Super Bowl with the prior QB.
Jameis Winston was playing with one eye. So yes, if you go from Jameis Winston to the greatest ever, and the kitchen is already stocked up, yeah, I'm gonna make a
Listen,
5-star meal.
we're not even arguing. You're agreeing with me because you just called Tom Brady the greatest ever. So you know that he has impact. You know that what he does makes a difference. Let's literally look at what happened with the Patriots when Tom Brady left. When Tom Brady left the Patriots, what are the Patriots doing now? Let's look at what the Buccaneers are doing now.
Brian.
The Buccaneers as a franchise are doing better because of what Tom Brady did for them. He brought a Super Bowl to that city, and that's then allowed them the avenue to go change directions with how they see quarterbacks. And then that's how they got Baker Mayfield. And there's a reason Mike Evans isn't leaving because he likes the direction the program is going in. And if you want to just go off of coaching and program management, as a GM, Bill Belichick was not sturdy. Bill Belichick had complete control of the Patriots as a GM, head coach, and president. But guess what? Bill Belichick was ousted and he doesn't have a job in the league right now.
He's taking a year off for the book.
Right. So no, so he was offered jobs and he refused them.
Yes, Atlanta.
He was offered the head coaching position.
He interviewed 3 times. Yes, there was interest there.
There was interest, but was he offered the job?
As far as I know, yes.
As far as you know, being what's your confirmed source?
I wasn't there, brother.
Like, what was it ever confirmed that Atlanta gave him the offer? No. Let's be serious. Everybody knows that if you're with Bill Belichick, you have to play Bill Belichick football. It's his way or the highway. And he was fortunate enough to have the golden child of Tom Brady, who could make everything gel together. Everybody knows Belichick is a defensive mind. And yes, his defense did play well. But if he did not have Tom Brady leading that offense, a lot of these Super Bowls would not have been won.
The Falcons pulled the rug. That's all. It was going to happen, and they pulled the rug. That's not his fault.
What do you mean?
Like, there was a lot of mutual interest, and then they got cold feet.
Yeah, they got cold feet for a reason. They decided to go a different direction. But we're belaboring, right? You mentioned the book. What is this book that Belichick is writing? This is the
I'm
first.
pretty sure it's like a memoir or just like some type of autobiography. Let me see if I can get some additional details. Like, I think this is like as of today. I saw this earlier today. I think they posted the note about it earlier today. This will be one of the very few times I will quote Adam Schefter, but he said, Bill Belichick book. Yeah, the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, is writing a book according to The Athletic. That's all. There's not really much else. So, not sure what the book is going to be about, but I'm sure it's in the highlight. Yeah, its nature is not yet fully known, but they did have that Patriot documentary on Apple TV. I still gotta watch that, but I'm sure it's gonna relate to something to that. So maybe his history, how he got into coaching, etc., etc.
Okay. Hey, shout out Bill Belichick. Looking forward to seeing it.
Indeed.
But it's time for everybody's favorite series. Well, at least I like this series. Moves we think teams should make by division. And this time we're talking about the NFC North. Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings. What moves do you think the Minnesota Vikings need to make in the free agency / in the draft in order to put them in a better position for next season?
Well, I don't think they want to go into next season with Jaron Hall, Sam Darnold, and Nick Mullins as their QB room. So I would hope and pray they can trade up and get a top quarterback or even get a day two guy of Michael Penix or things of that nature. Assuming he falls. I don't think he will, but there's always a chance. You got Aaron Jones as your running back now. Alexander Madison is gone. Cam Akers is probably not going to play football anymore. So you have a running back at least for half the season because Aaron Jones is old and injury prone. So you have pieces there. I think they could just kind of shore up that roster because they need to figure out why all their stars get hurt. Kirk Cousins, JJ, and TJ Hawkins that all got hurt last year. So they need to make sure they can improve the strength and conditioning. Also, make sure that Julian Addison doesn't have a sophomore slump. But and outside of that offense is pretty solid. On defense, I would say they're not bad either. I like what they have on defense right now. They could use some linebacker help. But yeah, that would be like the only real what's the word? Weakness in my opinion. So get some linebackers, find out what you want to do at quarterback, and pay Justin Jefferson. I think those are the three primary things they need to do.
Well said. And the things that I agree with you on, I agree with you on a lot. Like especially when it comes to QB, I can't remember the last QB or if there's even been a QB in the last like 10 years for the franchise that was like their consistent starter. Like I'm looking at it right now. Before Kirk Cousins, they had Christian Ponder.
Yeah.
And did they
Running back great. Christian Ponder, Sam Bradford, Joe Webb, Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's time for them to draft a QB and they should trade up and get JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
That's what I think they should do. When it comes to the wide receiver position, I think if they're smart, they go for value. Get your hands off of Justin Jefferson because you don't want to give him all of that money because it's going to debilitate you with the ability to build up the rest of your team. Start afresh, wash your hands of him. He is the best wide receiver in the league, and let him be fielded for offers that are worth the number one wide receiver in the team because it's going to be a sign and trade. Wherever he goes, he's going to get like some like 4 or 5 year extension for $30 million a year. So let him go to like a Arizona Cardinals. Let him go to like a Bengals. What's another team that has the money? Maybe like I don't know if the Titans have that money anymore, but let him go to a team that can give you a nice trade or pick package that lets you build up for the future, whether it's 2 or 3 firsts, several seconds and thirds, or some package of lower picks with 1 or 2 first round picks. I think you should be trying to get picks for this guy and maybe one player to replace at that wide receiver position, or you go for picks and you draft a wide receiver that can be your wide receiver one for the future. Because what's been shown is they definitely have the ability to build up a wide receiver. Like you mentioned, with their strength and conditioning, with their injuries, you have some things you have to fine tune within the building. So take that time to really work on those things and build up the franchise, because this is a franchise that has shown that they have the ability to get to the playoffs. It's just about making sure that you guys can stay at that level and start to build on that. It's not just about getting to the playoffs. It's about having those deep playoff runs. You guys had the Minnesota Miracle. How about let's get to the NFC Championship and then so on and so on. Let's keep going further.
Yeah. They did take Jordan Addison this past year, so maybe they add another receiver this year, a day two guy potentially, but they're definitely offense focused. They signed a few players on defense as well. So I think going from Alexander Madison to Aaron Jones is a serious upgrade. And you add some linebacker help, you add some pass rush help, and you already traded it up to get the 23rd overall pick. So maybe this is going to be a cascading move to trade up again. If not, maybe you take a wide receiver in the 20s. So there are a few different things they can do. And I mean, therefore, they're trying to elevate in this post Kirk Cousins era, and they're doing a good job, in my opinion.
Well said. Well said. All right, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. What do you think is going to happen with this franchise?
Don't overthink it. Draft Caleb Williams. Don't do it. Don't be dumb. Just do it. Draft Caleb Williams. You were a 7-win team last year, and you're only getting better. They can make the playoffs next year. They moved off Eddie Jackson. They brought in Kevin Byers, so that's a pretty lateral move. You had Jamin Johnson, Like, you have a good team. This will be a 9-10 win team for real. Just draft Caleb and build around him. And you're already doing it, and he's not even there yet. So yeah, just keep going.
What do you think they should do with the number 9 overall pick?
Best player available. Maybe even take Rome Odunze. So that way you'll have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen. I don't think they'll do that because that's a lot of knobs to feed. So maybe they might even take another utility piece, maybe someone on defense. They could use another DB since they just cut Eddie Jackson. But no, because they acquired Kevin Byard. So yeah, they might trade that pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade that pick and maybe for like a second and a third and more so focus on getting more edge rushers and offensive linemen.
Right.
Because you're getting a number 1 overall pick. You want to protect him. He's your most valuable asset. You've already made those moves when it comes to running back and wide receiver. Getting another young wide receiver, yes, is a good move. But if you can get a young wide receiver and an offensive lineman in like a early second or early third round, who you think can be an instant starter for your franchise, or after a few games you can coach up to be at that level, I think that's definitely a good move because you want Caleb Williams to be your QB for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, this wide receiver class is also very deep, so you don't even have to take one in the first round.
Absolutely. The Green Bay Packers. What do you think this franchise needs to do in order to be ready for next season?
Do they have any? Like, who was the oldest player on this team? They're like very young. They need a little bit of geriatrics, like just somebody with just a little bit of hair on their chest, you know. But outside of that, I think they're in a good spot. Try to avoid another slump like they did this year because that slump was very bad. And if they avoid that slump, I think they'll be like an 11-12 win team. That defense is actually all them draft picks finally paid off because they've been drafting defense for a long time, and they all have meshed well together. At this point, they could, I mean, yeah, throw another wide receiver in the mix, right? Why don't you? And maybe get another. I think they took Emmanuel Wilson last year. Yeah, I feel like they don't really need anything. So whatever they do in the draft makes sense to me. Maybe improve their strength and conditioning coach because I think there were some injuries in that camp earlier in the year last year or this past year. But outside of that, I think they're fine.
Did the Texans and Packers trade picks? Or is
No,
this
the Vikings traded up
okay?
and the Vikings traded up to get the Texans first round pick, I think.
Okay. So yeah, when it comes to the Packers, I think the Packers have been doing a lot well. The only thing I could see them really focusing on is adding some more depth to some of these defensive positions, maybe add some O-line depth here or there, and maybe get some more wide receivers for depth as well. It's essentially the biggest thing they need to do is depth and, like you're saying, get some veterans who have been there a while longer. Yes, you have
Yep.
a QB who has shown you that he can perform when it's time to perform, but you also need some people who have been there before too, because that was the first round. If you want to go to the NFC Championship and on, you need some people who can kind of be that voice in the locker room. If everybody's like 23 years old, uh, from an experience perspective, everybody's kind of been to the same place, which can be a double-edged sword. It could be a good thing because it helps to build morale in that same way, but it could also backfire as nobody knows what to do in this type of situation. You might see some heads getting hung down when the team is down by 14 and you have only so much time left to go.
Right. They genuinely could have been in the Super Bowl this past year. I honestly feel that way. They played a good football. They had a few mistakes when they mattered, but they could have beat San Fran. And if they beat San Fran, they were going to beat Detroit.
I
So
completely agree with you, man. I definitely could have seen the Packers in the Super Bowl this year. It was surprising for them to even beat the Cowboys, from in my opinion.
don't remind me.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the line. Detroit Lions, the team all about grit. Talk to me.
Is David Montgomery still on that roster? 'Cause if
Let me
not,
see.
we need to make sure they have a secondary running back. If he's there, then all well and good. But if not, they need to get another running back there. According to my sources, yes, he's still there. So yeah, they've addressed that. I think they're in a good spot. I think Amon Ra is due for some money, so pay him as soon as possible. Outside of that, they're running it back. It looks like they haven't really made too many changes. Oh, they got Marcus Davenport, so they added some pass rushers, and they added Carlton Davis. I like that. He can take over for CJ Gardner Johnson. I like that. I like that. And yeah, as far as drafting, maybe get another pass rusher, but I don't think you need one. Maybe get another safety, but I don't think you need one either. I mean, maybe a corner. So yeah, they can really go anywhere because they're all on this solid. Their wide receiver room is pretty solidified, and you had Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. So I don't know if there's any like real true weakness. I just think they need to work on not being so risky. Make it a little more vanilla. Don't gamble as much.
Hmm. Well said. Well said. When I think about the Lions, like you're saying, they've done tremendously well. So it's kind of hard to critique them. I'd say what they could potentially focus their efforts on. I'm trying to see what they've been doing in these mocks. I'm trying to get some semblance of what's going on.
Sure, sure.
Um, let me see. I'm seeing that the mocks are saying that the Lions, this is coming off of like the Lions website.
Mhm.
Um, wait,
They could use some DVs.
why is none of this like okay, here we go. All right, finally. Yes. O-line. O-line, O-line, O-line. That's the big thing I'm seeing right now for the Lions. Yes, they have a good O-line, but the thing is, you can never, ever have too many O-linemen. You have five people on the offensive line, and at any time, as the Cowboys have shown you, they can go down. I think the Cowboys' offensive line played a collective 0 snaps altogether at one time this season. It was
Yeah,
always
something like
somebody
that.
rotating in, somebody rotating out. So I'm seeing the names of players such as Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, an interior offensive lineman. He could be a guard. But yeah, especially with their grit culture and the head coach that they have, get some depth at offense in the offensive line, get some depth in the corner position. And honestly, it's healthy to have some depth in some of these positions that aren't really like as flashy because it breeds competition within the team and ultimately leads to you getting a better player to lace up on Sundays.
Well said. Looking at this 3 round mock from Tankathon, shout out to Tankathon. And in the first round, they're taking Chop Robinson, the edge rusher from Penn State. And then they're taking another DB in the second round from Missouri, Chris Abrams Drain. And then in the third round, they're taking a linebacker, Junior Colson from Michigan. And also, no, they only have one third round pick. So, yeah, obviously, it's going to be a lot of defense, according to Tankathon, corner, linebacker, and linemen. And if just the idea of Chop Robinson and Aiden Hutchinson, that's already scary thinking about. So if they end up doing that, then I'll be a little worried.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Definitely want to see what that looks like. And I think the Lions will be very successful next season. I think they've established that the biggest thing they needed was a culture shift, and their head coach has brought that. You got a QB who's going to be here for a while. You got a team that's young on the defensive side, and you've got key weapons who are young enough to last you a while.
Indeed, indeed.
So, I believe you had some written right here. Let's see where'd it go. What we got next?
Oh, so I was doing some research and Louis Rees-Zammit, he was a rugby player, but through the International Player Pathway Program, the IPPP, he's now playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. He held visits for the Broncos and Browns and then the Jets. And he eventually came to terms with the Chiefs to be a running back wide receiver and ideally a special teamer. So these new kickoff rules making teams adjust their personnel, and the Chiefs are not an exception to that. And yeah, he signed a 3 year deal. We don't know how much, but it's a 3 year deal with the defending champs. So do your part.
Okay, okay. I think that this is a good move by the Chiefs. So it's kind of a gamble, as in that I think he's been playing for football for less than like 2 or 3 years, right? To my understanding. But it said that I think he's been in rugby. His highest recorded speed is like 27 miles per hour or something ridiculous of that nature. So it's gonna be interesting to see what exactly happens with him. But I think that ultimately we'll be surprised to see that, oh, players can make this transition. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of a trend of this kind of being a pathway to the NFL, the same way that we were talking about with the NBA, the different paths. This could be
Yeah.
a new path for people who played rugby or other sports in different countries like the UK, Australia, and things of that nature. Even
Yes.
South Africa, a lot of
Yes.
rugby to NFL players.
Yes. Prior to what's his name again? Louis Rees-Zammit. Prior to him, there was quite a few players that came from non-traditional football countries and made the transition to the NFL. Most of them ended up being linemen, the likes of F.A. Obada from the UK, Jordan Mailata played rugby from Australia. He's now on the Eagles. Another example, and more recent findings, quite a few Nigerians, all playing on the offensive and defensive line, coming from football and basketball, handball, and other walks of athletic life. So yeah, it has a decent hit rate, and obviously the I feel like the most prominent individual to come through this path would be Jordan Mailata. He's a seventh rounder, and he's now been on the Eagles since 2018. I think he was he on that Super Bowl team. I don't think he was on that Super Bowl team, but he did play in that most recent Super Bowl. So he's extra. He's quite talented to be able to make that transition and have a decent amount of success. So yeah.
Tough, tough. But let's change the temperature, right? Let's get into some hot takes. Dan, you crafted the hot takes for this week, so I'm gonna let you take the lead on that.
The Pacers and the Clippers, in my opinion, will both be first round exits.
The Pacers and Clippers will both be first round exits. Why do you think that?
Well, the Clippers had James Harden and Russell Westbrook and Paul George on one team. That's just a recipe for failure in my eyes.
Well,
And
but why?
why not? We've seen all these individuals in the playoffs choke. So I don't think it changes.
Hmm. I mean, when let me take a look at the Clippers. When I look at the Clippers, right, I see the Clippers as a team with a high ceiling, potentially just based off of the players that they have, but also like we were discussing in the past, they're very comfortable, right? Like for no reason at all, they'll lose to some teams like they're losing to the 76ers 121 to 107 in their most recent game. Well, that's not the most recent. They've lost to the 76ers twice and they're on a 3-game losing streak. That's what I mean to say. But
They're 4-6 in their last 10. They most recently beat Philly a couple days ago by one. Prior to that, they lost to the Pacers at home by 17. They lost to Philly at home by 14. Beat the Blazers. Lost to the Pelicans on the road. Lost to Minnesota on the road at home by 18. Lost to the Bucks at home by 7. So yeah, they look very shaky, and shaky teams are often first round exits.
well said. I disagree with you on the Pacers though. The Pacers are in the East, and the East things tend to pan out differently. I think the Pacers will be able to get past that first round. I think they'll be potentially a second round exit. Why are you so down on the Pacers?
They're not going to be a top four seed. So because they're not going to be a top four seed, they're going to have to play one more road game than home game. They're average on the road, and they already look shaky. So
I mean, they're only 3.5 games back from being a top 4 seed.
that's a lot. It's April. That's a lot.
I mean, it's very possible, very possible. And the difference from there is from 3 and 4 is half a game.
Yeah, the Knicks on a run right now, and the Cavs just lost. So I see that, but
Yeah.
3.5 games in April is a lot. That's a lot.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cavs slip down. They're 3-7 in their last 10, and the Pacers are 6-4. The Magic and the Pacers could easily make a jump over the Cavs right now.
You might be on to something. Even still, Pacers are gone in the first round. 4-2 to whomever.
Okay. All right. What else you got for us?
What else do I have? Nikola Jokic has had the best prime for a big man ever since Dwight Howard.
Trying to think of some notable big men between Dwight Howard and now.
Try, try hard.
Well, you got Yusuf Nurkic, nah. Kevin Love, nah.
Power forward. No.
Oh, you mean exclusively centers?
Yes. But I mean, if you want to throw some power forwards in there, you can. But I was focusing on centers.
Um, Al Horford, nah.
Next.
Anthony Davis,
Nope. I'll take Joker.
Andre Drummond,
I'll definitely take Joker.
Robin Lopez,
I'll I'll take Joker.
DeAndre Jordan,
I'll take Joker.
Boban Marjanovic.
I'll take Joker.
Who are some dang, has the center position really not been doing what it's supposed to do?
Once Dwight Howard, he's been the best. Like this stretch of basketball I'm seeing this individual play has been unmatched since Dwight Howard at the
I might
center.
have to agree with you here. Unless, and this is a technicality, Giannis.
He's a no, he's not a center.
Giannis is
Um,
like 7 feet tall. You could classify him as a center in some regards. What is he
no,
listed as?
I think he's listed as everything, but he's not a
Hey,
center.
there you go. He's 6'11". I'm trying to see what he's listed as. NBA position.
Power forward center. Power forward.
Okay, then I disagree with you. I'm gonna go Giannis over Joker.
I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's okay though.
Well, why am I wrong? Can you explain?
Or didn't Giannis just get bounced out in the first round by Jimmy Butler?
Giannis also won a ring the year before and was the Finals MVP.
Joker's about to go back to back.
I disagree.
Okay, that's fine. I'm
I
telling you.
disagree with that. I think
Okay,
the
according
Nuggets.
to according to Basketball Reference, Giannis is listed at 1 through 4. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. It's not listed as a center.
According to who?
Basketball Reference. Shut up.
Basketball Reference. I mean, they got him listed as a center here on Google.
I mean, I will allow it for this exercise. I'm still taking Joker.
I'm taking Giannis over Joker.
That's cool.
Joker's kind of like that player where it's like, you can stop him and then you get down to 0.1 seconds and then he does some random nonsense to get the ball in the hoop. But I think that Giannis, especially this year, I think that the Bucks are going to go farther than the Nuggets.
Farther away from Cancun. Like, what do you wait? Farther where?
Farther in the playoffs.
Well, the Nuggets are the repeat. So what are you saying right now?
I'm saying the Nuggets aren't going to repeat. I disagree with you.
Okay. Since we're on the topic of Nikola Jokic, he's the first player in NBA history in a 5-year span to record 8,000 points, 4,000 rebounds, and 3,000 assists.
That's very impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Jokic, it might be safe to say that for the foreseeable future, Denver has their star player. And it doesn't seem like he really ever gets. Has he been injured at all?
No, he's nothing severe. I think he's missed a game or two here and there, but nothing severe.
Okay, and it looks like he avoids injury and things of that nature. So yeah, now I think about it, him, Luca, they don't really get hurt. Even what's that player on the Kings?
Mountains of bonus. Yeah, the
They don't
Euro
get.
guys
They
they
just
don't
play.
they don't play physical football basketball. So yeah, if you don't play physical basketball, you're less likely to get hurt.
Well said. Well said. All right, what else you got?
This isn't mine, but the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure, if you know, you know, identify Kyrie Irving as a top 5 point guard based on talent alone, top 5 all time based on talent alone.
Who's in the top 5?
I don't remember who they had in their top 5, but they included Kyrie Irving. And
I
for a second, I was with them, and then I had to sit and think, like, wait, no.
Okay, so let's even just run down this. Greatest point guard of all time, Magic Johnson. Can we agree?
Yes.
All right, number 2, Curry.
Yes.
Number 3, Oscar Robertson.
I'm with you.
All right, 4, Jerry West.
No.
Really?
No.
Who you
Well,
put at 4?
not Jerry West. I'll take Isaiah Thomas over Jerry West.
Okay.
I don't even think Jerry West is. I don't even think Isaiah Thomas is 4. but I'll say Isaiah Thomas over Jerry West.
All right, who do you put at 4?
I'm thinking, but Magic, Steph, who is three?
3 is Oscar Robertson.
Magic, Steph, Big O. I'll take Russ over Jerry West.
Who you put
Yeah,
at
why
4?
not? Why not? Isaiah Thomas at 4 and 5. Chris
Either
Paul.
Chris Paul at 5.
Yes.
I'm personally going Steve Nash or John Stockton at 5.
I would put Nash at 6.
Chris Paul, for me, I feel like Chris Paul does everything great as a point guard in the regular season, but due to his lack of performance in the postseason, I can't put him in the top 5.
That's fine, but I'll have you know that Steve Nash's postseason resume is not all
That's
that
fair.
beautiful.
He also has 2 MVPs.
Yeah, well, one of those should have went to Shaq. No, well, no, both of those should have been Shaq's. So that's okay.
Really, really.
Yeah.
Tell me this lore. I didn't know this.
I mean, just look at what Shaq was doing at that time, and look at what Steve Nash was doing at that time. When MVP average of like 16 points and 10 assists. That's the MVP, 16 and 10. There's backup point guards in the NBA doing that now. I think like would you give Tyrese Halliburton an MVP right now? He's a starter, but would you?
No.
Okay, but Steve Nash running with those numbers. No disrespect, but Shaq was killing people at that time. But for some reason, I think the difference in their records were not that drastic. If memory serves me right, Steve Nash win MVP over Shaq twice. I'm sorry, no.
Okay. But even when I look at Kyrie Irving, I think Kyrie Irving is a top 15 point guard of all time, but I can't put him up there just because I don't want to say the controversy, but I just feel like whatever team he goes to, this is the first team in a while he hasn't caused drama.
Define drama. And before you answer that, what does that have to do with the ability to put the ball in the basket?
Okay, fair. But let me rephrase. Even when you look at his NBA rankings in terms of scoring, assists, and things of that nature, even alone off of putting the ball in the basket, he's not even top 100 in the NBA all time.
As far as what, like career points and whatnot.
Yeah.
Let me see. What does he average in the playoffs? Because I might be with you. I think I am with you. Again, I'm not saying he is, but I had to think about it for a second. When I heard it, I was like, wait,
He's at, unless this is inaccurate from hoops hype, he's at 125th in scoring an NBA rank. It may have gone up a few, but he's definitely still sub 100.
let's see. So in the playoffs, he averages 23.5,
Not sub 100, above 100.
23.5 for rebounds, 6 assists. Yeah, well, again, talent. I think is almost a surefire. Like I'm comfortable saying he's the top 5 talent at the point guard position. But
I'm
yeah,
maybe
the
taking Jason
resume.
Kidd over Kyrie.
Yeah. Personally,
Gave you one to think about, huh?
I'm taking Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd play defense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
All right.
taking
What else you got for us?
Oh, Paul Pierce says that Steph Curry's influence on the game of basketball has been greater than that of LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant.
Steph
Paul Pierce,
Curry.
not me.
Wait, the who? Say it again.
So Paul, again, these are not my words. This came from Paul Pierce. Steph Curry's influence on the game has been greater than LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant.
He's crazy.
Very much so.
Also, you don't even agree with this.
No.
Has he heard of Jumpman? Has he heard of Mamba? Um, People regularly say Kobe when they shoot. LeBron has been in the league for 20 years and averages 27 points per game consistently. And you can ask anybody in our youth, were you buying Curry's or were you buying LeBron's? What was more sought after? There was 1 to 2 years when Curry's popped off. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me off. Don't get me wrong. But I think more people, even to this day, would rather buy a Kobe shoe, a LeBron shoe, a Jordan than a Curry. Curry is a great player, and he's a top 5 point guard of all time, top 3 point guard of all time, top 2, and he's top 2. He's number 2 all time. But overall impact, I'm gonna have to go LeBron and Jordan and Kobe. LeBron literally has a school. Jordan used to own an NBA team. Kobe has a legacy of working hard and grit that people use as a mantra for whatever they're doing in life. What is Curry known for? Deep threes? But outside of that, intangibly, what is he known for? I'm asking, genuinely.
I mean, he's a good guy.
But there's a lot of good guys, right?
Yeah. I mean, as far as like humanitarian things that he's done, I'm sure he's done a lot. I just don't know them off the top of my head.
So what you're saying is they're not notable.
To me,
Yes, that's what I'm saying to you.
I'm not aware.
Listen, and that's what I'm asking. If you're not aware and I'm not aware, then that means it didn't make that much of a splash for us to know. We all know that LeBron has opened up a school, right? We both know that, right?
Yes.
That's something notable and noteworthy that will go with him past his NBA career and legacy. We know even honestly, I'm putting Magic Johnson over Curry in terms of overall impact. Magic Johnson owns the Commanders right now.
Yeah.
But let's switch it up, man. Let's turn down the temperature a little bit. I got some cold facts for you today. Did you know the difference between the first seed and 9 seed in the West is the same as the difference between the first seed and the second seed in the East?
I've been telling y'all this my entire life, and even before I was even on this earth. The West has always had the more bump than the East. It always has, and it always will. The Western Conference is where your champions will be found 90% of the time. And I will stand on that.
I think
So,
also when once LeBron went to the West, it was like the Great Migration. Now everybody's in the West. I think all
yeah,
the great players, I think the East, if you're a younger player, it's better to be in the East. I feel like the East is better for building yourself up as a player and to have like a career. But when you look at the West, even honestly, every single team, except maybe like the Trailblazers, Grizzlies, and Jazz, have somebody who's been dominant for the past 5 years, and Spurs.
good point. Good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Oh, and Rockets. The Rockets are pretty young too.
Yes.
All right. The second cold fact I have for you is: did you know that the shortest touchdown that ever occurred was from the Baltimore Ravens when they scored a touchdown in just 11 seconds against the Cincinnati Bengals? Ravens corner Chris McAllister returned the opening kickoff 107 yards for a touchdown, setting an electrifying tone for the game.
Special teams doing special things.
Yeah. And then the last one I got for you is Night Train Lane, also known as Dick Lane, set an NFL record that may never be broken when he intercepted 14 passes during the 1952 season as a rookie cornerback for the LA Rams. Lane's exceptional ball hawking skills established him as one of the most dominant defensive players of his era.
You know what's crazy? I'm pretty sure they only had 12 games in that season.
So he was averaging 1.1 picks a game.
Let me make sure I'm not making that up. I'm pretty sure they had like 12 or 13 games in that season. Yeah, 12. 12.
Look how times have changed.
Mm-hmm. 12. Yeah, it's crazy.
But let's talk about what's going on in the NBA. Youth and the elderly. We constantly talk about what it means to be old and what it means to be young. But did you know that the oldest NBA player and the youngest NBA player faced off? Lakers versus the Grizzlies.
Yep.
LeBron James versus Gigi Jackson. LeBron has been in the league longer than Gigi Jackson has been alive.
Yes.
And what Gigi Jackson had to say when interacting with LeBron, he said, I didn't get to talk to him much. He had a couple of fadeaways in my face and he cooked me, but yeah, you know, it was good to be out there.
Yeah.
Game respect game. And I think he respects that LeBron has been doing this longer than he's been alive.
LeBron has played against sons and fathers.
Yeah.
Jabari Smith Jr., freaking Gary Payton Jr. Did he play against Patrick Ewing? I don't think he played against Patrick Ewing. But amongst others, I can't think of like all of them right now, but he's played against sons and fathers throughout the course of his career. Oh, Gary Trent Jr., etc. So the man is 40, and these rookies the rookies nowadays are 18, 19, 20. The maths. And he's still cooking. So
Absolutely still cooking. But let's talk about a team that's been on a hot streak. The Rockets are still going, man. The Rockets are still going, and they are one game back from the Warriors. I believe it was some player, he was on his story. He was saying, Warriors, we're coming. It's like,
yeah,
oh, we're scared now, we're coming. And it's even said now that the Warriors have a 29% chance of even making the playoffs.
Houston is playing against Utah tonight. I'm sure they're gonna get that one. Uh Draymond Green has some words for that, for the statement made by the Rockets. Uh as they won 10 straight, Draymond Green has gone on to say why he would come out and make a video telling the Warriors to come out and play. Everybody in Houston had a heart attack when he did that. When you lose to a team in the playoffs, when it matters the most, it's tough to talk because that's what matters.
So he's saving his words for the playoffs.
Yep.
Shaq says Shea will be the MVP, and I agree with him.
It's between Shea and Joker. Give me Joker.
Give me Shea, man.
But if Shea wins it, I'm not mad.
You said if Shea wins, it's what?
I'm not mad. Like I wouldn't, it's deserved is a weird word, but yeah, it's earned. I'll say earned.
I think Shea has been the most consistent player. Well, in terms of performance this season at that high of a level.
Durant, Joker, LeBron.
Durant, if when he plays, is consistent.
He's not missing that much time, is he?
Over the course of his career, that man.
How about this season?
Oh, okay, that's fair. All right. So I know you're a Christian man, you're a God-fearing man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you believe in baptisms, right?
Got one, yes.
Of course, you know, as well. And you know, Austin Reeves, he was baptized. not in the church on the court. I think about a week ago by was it Josh Johnson or
Jalen Johnson, yes.
yeah, Jalen Johnson. And he's been on the best post baptism run I've seen in a while. I've never seen a player get cooked like that and then bounce back. He's over here hitting game winning shots, uh, putting up like high 20s, and helping the Lakers get to the wins. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you get dunked on, the ground reality is the embarrassment is only 2 points. So sometimes you gotta go home, look at your wallet. You're like, dang, 2.5 M's? All right, cool. Go home, look at your fridge. Dang, we got some leftover food. Yo, all right, cool. Go home, look at your phone. Dang, I got a LeBron on speed dial. All right, cool. It's just, just think about everything else going on in your life. And y'all going crazy about 2 points. I'm having a 5-star meal in my kitchen. Yeah, so sometimes you just got to tell yourself you be sad for a little bit because you got banged on. It's not a good feeling. But Hoopers will stay Hoopers. And he's a Hooper. What
Hmm.
do they call him? Hillbilly Kobe.
Facts.
So yeah, I mean triple doubles, game time buckets. He gets active. And he's been getting active.
Respectfully, you're correct. You're correct. The refs of the NBA have been atrocious this season. Philly versus the Clippers, there was a no fault foul call on the last play on Kelly Oubre's shot, and the refs admit to missing the call. This is the second time I've seen this season that the refs have missed a clear call that was deciding of the game. And what are your thoughts?
The reference calls all the time. As a Wizards fan, I would see John Wall get poked in the eye, smacked in the face, not a single whistle. I've seen LeBron get poked in the eye, tackled, bit, not a single whistle. A little bit of hyperbole there, but you get my drift. These refs suck, respectfully. This is what I think. This is why we see so many jumpers. Because if you're not gonna blow the whistle, I might as well put off from 35 feet. So Evan Silver needs to address that somehow, some way. But at the same time, you don't want to get a whistle every 2 seconds. So you need to find the happy medium, and they haven't found it yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, continuing on the NBA, the Celtics have a kryptonite and they don't know how to stop them. The Hawks know how to beat the Celtics time and time again. What is going on here, Dan?
Sometimes it kind of reminds me of the Eagles and the Jets. It's a little different because the Hawks and the Celtics play each other a lot more. But sometimes it's just that one team that has your number. And in this case, it just happens to be the Hawks. In the grand scheme, I don't think Boston cares. I think they're in playoff mode, which is ironic because they're losing. But I say that because they're kind of just taking their foot off the gas a little bit. I think the East is theirs, and a few, they could be messing this could be high level chess, adjusting the playing a little bit so that you can get an easier road. I've seen the Clippers do this in the past, allegedly. So it's like, yeah, this could all just be like a down the line. Oh, if only this team didn't beat this team. You see this all the time, even in the NFL, when a coach is about to get fired and he deliberately won his last game so the team can get so that team can get a worse pick. Had he lost, that team would have like a top 10. Had he lost, that team would have a top 2 pick or something like that. And he won the game. He ended up, at the pick overall. And he knew that. So he went out there and won, and then they fired him. So it's like it's stuff like that. It's these small little tricks just to be like, haha. So yeah, it's no different.
Hmm. All right, to end off, what championship team do you think didn't deserve the ring they got across whatever sport?
Ooh, you see, my immediate answer was probably the Bucks that when they won, but I take that back because when you put a 50 in the game 7, yeah, that's earned. Um, so outside of that championship team that didn't deserve it, Oh, the 2015 Warriors. If Kyrie didn't get hurt, LeBron would have another ring right now. And yeah, that's about it. And we saw that they had to get that a 7 foot monster just to really stretch the gap between those Cavs teams and Curry. So yeah, the 2015 Warriors.
I think I might have you beat on this one because this one was decided by one play call. I think you know where I'm going. 2015
Oh
Super
yeah,
Bowl,
yeah.
Patriots
Yeah.
versus the Seattle Seahawks. If simply the Seahawks would have chose to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, I think they're on like the 3 or the 2 or the 1.
We're on the one.
They're on the 1. 50 gut down the middle, Marshawn Lynch, maybe bounce it out, something, do some type of trick, act like you're selling it, something, open a gap. Marshawn Lynch was getting in there on the 1. And I don't even think it was like 4th down or something.
It
I
was
think like,
second and goal.
yeah, it was 2nd and 1. You could have ran the ball again, and then done something like that on 4th down after you got a few more yards of spacage. And I think the Patriots didn't deserve to win that Super Bowl, but I think that Pete Carroll deciding let's pass the ball came ultimately down more to politics and having Russell Wilson be looked at as the golden child than actually wanting to win a championship that year.
You know what I always say? It's only crazy if it doesn't work.
Yeah, and it didn't work. But all right, guys, with that being said, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Fever Pitch Podcast. If you haven't already, please leave a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at Fever Pitch Pod. And if you want to be on the podcast, shoot us an email. Our email is in the description, and leave a hot take that you have in our Google form in our link tree. But that being said, thank you guys for listening to this episode, and we will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Take care. God bless.